I still can't believe what happened. I'm talking about my own sister, folks, the person I grew up with, shared secrets with, defended against bullies. She looked me dead in the eye at her own wedding reception and called me just staff. Just staff. Can you believe the audacity? She did it in front of a room full of people, including my parents, my in-laws, and her new husband's ridiculously snobby family. The kicker, we were standing in the grand ballroom of a hotel I not only manage, but partially own asterisk. Was I wrong for what I did next? Tell me honestly, would you have done the same thing if your own flesh and blood had humiliated you like that? Let me take you back to the beginning, because to truly understand the depth of this betrayal, you need the full picture. My sister, Sarah, and I have always had a complicated relationship. Growing up, she was the golden child, effortlessly beautiful, charming, and always the center of attention. I was the quiet one, the studious one, the one who preferred books over parties. Our parents, bless their hearts, never overtly favored her, but it was clear where their expectations lay. Sarah was destined for a glamorous life, a husband with a prestigious job and a sprawling house. I was just me. After college, I dove headfirst into the hospitality industry. It was a tough climb, but I loved it. I started at the very bottom, cleaning rooms, working the front desk, learning every single aspect of how a hotel operates. Sarah, meanwhile, pursued a career in lifestyle blogging, which mostly involved her taking aesthetically pleasing photos of brunches and shopping trips, all funded by our parents. A few years ago, an incredible opportunity arose. The luxury hotel I was working at, a historic landmark in the city, was going through a management change and some restructuring. I had worked my way up to a senior management position, and I knew the place inside and out. I saw a chance to not only secure a stable future for myself, but to truly make a mark. I invested a significant portion of my savings, took out a substantial loan, and, with the backing of a small group of investors, became a minority owner and the general manager. It was the hardest thing I'd ever done, the most stressful, but also the most rewarding. I poured my heart and soul into that hotel. I oversaw every renovation, hired and trained every member of the staff, and personally ensured that every guest had an exceptional experience. It became my second home, a testament to years of hard work and dedication. I was proud, incredibly proud, of what I had achieved. My parents were proud too, though Sarah always seemed to dismiss it as just a hotel. To her, it wasn't a glamorous enough pursuit. She wanted the spotlight, and my quiet success, even if substantial, was never going to overshadow her. When Sarah announced her engagement to Richard, a man who came from old money and had an even older, more established family, I was genuinely happy for her. Richard seemed like a decent guy, if a little stiff, and Sarah genuinely seemed to love him. Of course, the wedding planning immediately became an Olympic sport. Sarah wanted nothing less than perfection, and her mother-in-law, Mrs. Henderson, was even more demanding. They toured countless venues, rejected countless caterers, and scrutinized every single detail. I offered to help, of course, suggesting my hotel as a potential venue, thinking it would be a nice gesture, a way to show her how far I'd come. She scoffed, "Your hotel, no offense, but Richard's family expects nothing less than the best. We need something truly 5-star, not your place." I was hurt, but I let it go. I figured she just didn't understand the level of luxury and service we provided. After all, she'd never really paid attention to my career. Then, about 3 months before the wedding, I got a frantic call from Sarah. Their dream venue, the incredibly exclusive and ridiculously expensive scent. Regis had double booked and cancelled their reservation. Sarah was in hysterics. Mrs. Henderson was threatening to call off the wedding. It was a complete disaster. Sarah, through tears, finally admitted, "I know I said it wasn't good enough, but do you think your hotel could possibly host the wedding? Just for the reception, we're desperate." Despite her previous dismissal, my immediate instinct was to help my sister. Family comes first, right? I told her I'd see what I could do. I pulled strings I didn't even know I had, rearranged bookings, got my head chef to completely overhaul his menu to meet their incredibly specific demands, and negotiated with my co-owners to ensure they got the absolute best rates and service. I basically bent over backward, sacrificing countless hours and personal time to make it happen. I even threw in a complimentary bridal suite and a discount on rooms for their out-of-town guests. Sarah was initially effusive with her thanks, showering me with praise. "You're the best sister ever. I knew I could count on you." I genuinely thought this might be a turning point for us, a moment where she finally saw me as more than just quiet little me. The wedding day itself was, predictably, a whirlwind. I was working tirelessly behind the scenes, making sure every single detail was perfect. I checked in with the catering staff, ensured the floral arrangements were precisely as Sarah wanted, even personally oversaw the sound checks for the band. I was dressed in a sleek, professional suit, blending in with my staff, because that's what I do when I'm on duty. My role that day wasn't just as the sister of the bride. It was as the general manager, ensuring my hotel lived up to its impeccable reputation, especially for such a high-profile event. I wanted Sarah's wedding to be perfect, regardless of how she felt about my career. The reception was in full swing, and everything was going smoothly. The food was exquisite, the music was lively, and Sarah looked radiant. I finally allowed myself a moment to relax, leaning against a pillar, watching the happy couple dance. That's when Mrs. Henderson, Richard's mother, approached me. She was a formidable woman, impeccably dressed, with an air of superiority that could curdle milk. "Excuse me," she said, her voice dripping with disdain. "I believe you're the one in charge of the staff here, aren't you?" I politely introduced myself. "Yes, I'm my name, the general manager. Is there anything I can assist you with, Mrs. Henderson?" She then proceeded to complain about the temperature of the champagne, the exact shade of the napkins which Sarah had personally chosen, I might add, and the volume of the music. I listened patiently, assured her I would address her concerns, and discreetly signaled to a waiter to check the champagne. It was right after this interaction that Sarah came over, her new husband Richard by her side. She looked at me, then at Mrs. Henderson, and a look of pure exasperation crossed her face. "Oh, there you are, my name," she said, a dismissive wave of her hand. "Don't mind her, Mother Henderson. She's just staff. She's good at handling these little things." My blood ran cold. Asterisk just staff asterisk. The words echoed in my ears, louder than the music, louder than the laughter. Richard, to his credit, looked a little uncomfortable, but he didn't say anything. Mrs. Henderson, however, smirked triumphantly. My own sister, the woman whose wedding I had literally saved, whose dream day I had orchestrated down to the finest detail, had just publicly demoted me to a mere employee in front of her new, snobby in-laws. It wasn't just an insult. It was a profound act of disrespect, a complete erasure of my accomplishments and my value. All the years of feeling second, best, all the subtle slights, all the hard work I'd poured into building my career, came crashing down on me in that moment. So that's the situation I was in, and I had to make a choice. Here I was, standing in my hotel, a place I had invested my life savings and countless hours into, being called just staff by my own sister, who was standing there beaming, oblivious to the knife she'd just twisted. My parents, who were standing nearby and had clearly heard the exchange, looked mortified, but they were frozen, unsure how to react to such open hostility. Before I tell you what happened next, I want you to pause and comment below what you would have done in my shoes. Would you have let it go for the sake of family peace, or would you have made it clear, right then and there, who you really were? I took a deep breath, a slow, deliberate one, trying to keep my voice even, despite the rage simmering just beneath the surface. I looked at Sarah, then at Mrs. Henderson, then back at Sarah. "Sarah," I said, my voice cutting through the ambient noise, "I'm not just staff. I'm the general manager of this hotel, and more importantly, I'm a co-owner." The silence that followed was deafening. You could practically hear a pin drop. Sarah's face, which had been beaming just moments before, slowly drained of color. Richard looked utterly bewildered. Mrs. Henderson's smirk vanished, replaced by a look of shock and disbelief. "What are you talking about?" Sarah stammered, her voice a little too high-pitched. "Don't be ridiculous. This is my wedding, not one of your work functions." I stepped forward, making sure I had everyone's attention. "This hotel," I began, my voice gaining strength, "is a culmination of years of hard work. I started at the bottom, and I worked my way up. I invested my own money, my own blood, sweat, and tears into making this place what it is today, and yes, I am an owner. A significant one, in fact, which means, technically, Sarah, you're a guest in my establishment. And as a guest, there are certain expectations of conduct." I paused, letting that sink in. My parents had finally moved closer, their faces a mixture of pride and apprehension. Then I turned my attention to Mrs. Henderson and Mrs. Henderson. I continued, "While I always strive to ensure every guest has an impeccable experience, your constant complaints and unwarranted rudeness, especially towards my dedicated team, are quite frankly unacceptable. As an owner, I have a right to refuse service to anyone who disrupts the peace and enjoyment of my other patrons, or who treats my staff with such blatant disrespect." Her jaw dropped. She tried to interrupt, sputtering something about outrageous behavior. But I held up a hand. "Furthermore," I added, a glint in my eye, "the incredible discount and complimentary services you've received for this wedding were a personal favor from me as the owner to my sister. A favor I extended, despite your initial dismissiveness of my mere hotel, to help her out of a desperate situation." The room was buzzing with whispers. Guests, who had overheard the exchange, were now staring openly. Sarah looked absolutely mortified, her cheeks burning crimson. Richard, bless his heart, finally found his voice. "Sarah, is this true? You never told me my name owned the hotel." Sarah could only shake her head, completely speechless. She had kept it a secret from him, probably out of a misguided sense of shame or a desire to maintain her glamorous image. Then I delivered the final blow. I pulled out my phone and discreetly made a call to my assistant manager. "Mark," I said, my voice clear and authoritative, "I need you to prepare the final bill for the Hendersons. Myth wedding, effective immediately. All discounts are hereby rescinded, and standard rates will apply for all services rendered, including the bridal suite and the guest rooms. I'm also going to need security to escort Mrs. Henderson from the premises if her behavior continues, and please ensure that if any further disrespect is shown to my staff, the entire wedding party will be asked to vacate the hotel." I hung up, slowly, and looked at Sarah. Her eyes were wide with shock and horror. "You can't do that," she gasped. "This is my wedding." "Oh, I absolutely can," I replied, my voice calm but firm. "Because this is my hotel, and you just taught me a very valuable lesson about who deserves my generosity and respect. Clearly, not everyone in this room understands the difference between just staff and a dedicated professional who built something from the ground up." The aftermath was a glorious, if chaotic, mess. Sarah burst into tears, and Richard, looking utterly humiliated, tried to calm her down while simultaneously apologizing profusely to me. Mrs. Henderson, still sputtering with indignation, was indeed escorted out by security, causing an even bigger scene. My parents, after the initial shock, came over and hugged me tightly, my mother whispering, "I'm so proud of you, honey." My staff, who had witnessed the entire exchange, were practically glowing with respect and quiet satisfaction. They had seen me defend them, and in doing so, defend myself and our collective hard work. The wedding reception, though undeniably awkward for a while, continued. Richard, to his credit, spent the rest of the evening trying to smooth things over with me and, more importantly, with my parents. He later told me that Sarah had always downplayed my achievements, making it sound like I was merely a mid-level manager at some hotel, never mentioning my ownership stake. He was genuinely embarrassed and apologetic for his mother's behavior and Sarah's deception. He even insisted on personally paying the full, undiscounted bill. As for Sarah and me, our relationship is, understandably, fractured. She tried to apologize later, but it felt hollow, tinged with resentment over the public humiliation. She claimed she didn't mean just staff, in a derogatory way, but her actions and her history of dismissing my career spoke volumes. I told her that I loved her as my sister, but I wouldn't tolerate disrespect, especially not in my own house, or rather, my own hotel. It was a harsh lesson, but one I felt she desperately needed to learn. Sometimes, family needs a wake-up call to truly see and appreciate who you are, beyond the roles they've assigned you in their own narratives. So, that's my story. It's been a whirlwind, and I'm still processing it all. But honestly, I don't regret it. I stood up for myself, for my hard work, and for my team. And sometimes you just have to do that, even if it's your own sister who forces your hand. Like this video if you were on my side. Subscribe for more stories like this, and make sure to share your final thoughts on this whole mess in the comments section. I'll see you all in the next story.